This episode is
what's
rated
it?
16 and up. There is
Okay,
violence.
thank you. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah. This is great.
There is
I feel
some
like
there is some
there's
racism, there's
yes
some violence, and
towards
specifically violence towards race and sexuality.
sexuality. Yes, thank you. Sorry. Um, I feel like Al Franken's character, Stuart Smalley. This has been a pretty good show. Okay. So if you've been here before, you know what we're doing next. And it's time to grab your remote and have your thumb on the play button, but don't press it yet because we're going to do that all at the same time. On the count of 3, ready? 1, 2, 3.
I think you did a very good job, Curry.
Fantastic job.
Now I
She
want to
did
watch
an
it.
awesome
Just
job.
wait.
Now I want to watch that movie Magnolia. I haven't seen that in forever, and Amy Mann does the soundtrack for that.
You know what? I sometimes just sing this song.
It's
I
a
really
fun one
do.
to sing.
Sometimes,
I was
like
gonna ask if
in the
anyone's
morning, I will
singing
sing
right
this
Eileen
song.
now.
Bennis sings this song, doesn't she? In a Seinfeld episode. I'm pretty
If
sure.
I'm in a good mood in the morning, I'll just start singing this.
This is a great song.
Oh my
I
god,
love
it's a
that
Jewish
song.
star.
You
They
should
made
sing
a
it when you're
Jewish.
not in a good mood because then it'll brighten your mood as you sing.
Did you see they just made a Jewish star in the water?
I especially
Yes.
love that one part. Good morning, good morning.
We did see that, Nancy. It's kind of interesting, huh?
Yes.
So
Is that what
Midge,
she was wearing last night
Midge
with
needs a
with
song.
the?
It
Yes.
is.
Yes, it is.
Okay, so this is just follow up from last night.
Remember her parents are staying in
Yeah,
her room and she told them she'd find a place to stay? She slept by the
Oh right,
pool.
she just knocked those girls over.
that was
Rude.
definitely
She did.
visual effects because there's no way that she kicked that well.
That was awesome. I love her for doing that.
The ball actually still looked a little bit like a gummy bear.
Oh my god, look at that hat. You have to
Admire
make
the
that
hat. Yes.
It's hilarious.
I would totally wear that.
Which hat? What do you mean which
Roses.
hat?
The straw
Rose's
hat.
Rose's hat.
It looks like an
Well,
Easter
Kush
bonnet.
balls on it. Kush balls all
It
over
looks.
it. Remember those?
It looks like an Easter bonnet.
I love Midge's hat.
Doesn't it look like Kush? Do you remember Kush balls, the little elasticy things that?
Yes. Rose's hat for sure.
It reminds me of
But I
that
do
that
like
book
Rose's
that book
dress.
about the Go Dog Go where they say, "Do you like my hat?"
That's my favorite book, Curry. I do like Rose's dress though.
She has slap face. I love it.
I'm totally ignoring her.
Hey, Cry, you want to catch her in Baltimore with me?
Yes, I just have to arrange that time machine to be delivered, and then we could go back in time. We'd have to bring Flat Shauna with us, though.
Well, the real Shauna is going to go with you.
Yeah, there you go.
I told you what would happen if both you and Flat Shauna met. Worlds would.
Oh, yeah, like the two Paul Ankas. What? Like the two Paul Ankas meet in the road. Oh wait, is this the opening? I'm excited.
It's the rehearsal they do for the investors.
Oh,
Is she just trying to like get into some sort of a method?
she looks comatose to me. Or catatonic, whatever it's called.
I mean, kudos to Jane Lynch for sitting there the entire time doing nothing more than blinking. It was so off putting.
I don't know where they filmed this, but they really nailed what like a rehearsal or dance studio looks like in the middle of New York City. It's like very old, like that elevator that just opens up onto the floor.
Oh my goodness.
It was that quick, huh?
Susie's kind of
I
scary
am
when she's
very confused.
excited.
I didn't. Did they, so they just like time lapse there or something like where it.
Yes, it was a time lapse.
Like how they did that though. Are there more bears than before?
I
Yeah, the
think there's
bears are definitely accumulating now.
they're breeding.
Yeah, they're like a yellow snowdrift, like up the side of the wall.
Look at all those suitcases she has. Oh wait, those are probably her parents.
I mean, they're probably hers. Who knows?
Oh, this is something. This is related to that look that May was giving when they were right. This has got to have something to do with May.
Is she a mobster? I don't think she is. But that's seems like she has some sort of sway.
Depends on which mob you're talking about.
I think she is. I'm going with she's some kind of Chinese crime boss in charge of something or other, or high up in the chain.
Or she's the one that can actually speak English that translates for everyone. So she's pretty important.
Yeah, I kind of think she's in charge of something because she has those two guys all the time.
That shake looks really good, and I don't even like ice cream, but
COVID has really affected you a lot.
yes, it has.
Ice cream looks good. It does look good though. I like a good old fashioned shake.
That pirate movie joke is funny because it's just so clearly a nod to the Princess Bride.
Oh, these guys.
The Rockaways are strong.
Uh-oh. Think that's going to
Yikes.
cause problems?
Jeez, Joel, chill out, man.
Too much
Trying
pride.
to help you.
Her top looks like a Wonder Bread wrapper.
Oh my god, now that's all I'm going to see.
But both outfits are fabulous, though.
All of the women's outfits. I love them all.
Like, I just love Liza's whole ensemble from hat and the dress.
Are they going to bump Julie Andrews?
That's funny. That's funny.
Pretty clever, huh?
They kept that is clever writing. That is very clever writing. All right, I gotta figure out how to get in touch with these actors because we've got to get them to come in and join us. Not easy to shoot this because that boat's really moving and it's really out at sea.
Ugh,
I mean,
I'd be bored.
there's probably some stuff that's been removed from the background, but for the most part, that's like a very small crew that's on that boat. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's not.
She's matching the help.
Wait, so Reggie was famous before him?
No, they bet to see who would get to be famous first. And when he lost, he did another bet, and then he lost, and he did it again.
Yeah, but if he
I feel
lost,
like that is not, they're not really on a boat moving in the water because it's not
yeah,
windy enough. And
I'm
I would be,
starting to think it's
you feel
it's
like you're holding
fake
on
too.
for dear
Yeah.
life. When you're out and on the ocean in a sailboat, it feels like, yeah, you're holding on for dear life. It's not this relaxed
Well,
to me
yeah.
anyway.
I don't. I, I I don't think that these shots where they're just talking, those would have easily been
Maybe
just
when she
done.
was walking through there or
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. I think that opening establishing shot was like a really exciting. Like they took a few people on that boat, the camera operator, and they just got a really stunning opening shot, and then they cut into all of the other stuff that they were doing at with the boat just anchored against the the docks or whatever. But I'm going to need clarity on this whole like Shy and Reggie thing because if he says that he lost, then that means that Reggie was famous first.
That's the way I understood it. Oh, that jello looks good too.
Oh my god.
Oh, it was disappointing, Kendra.
She's working Sophie.
And she was back in the pool.
Wait, is she managing this guy now too?
She's sounding like Reggie now.
Rose is drunk. Is that what we're seeing here?
I believe so.
Your drunk acting list,
Yes, I
John.
think this can, John, you can add this one to your Hall of Fame.
It's good. It's very it's good. It's unique.
She wants to change her daughter's name. What in the hell is he eating? It looks like Ruffles
Yeah, I think it's
chips.
Ruffles.
They were sitting on the bar. Like, was that a thing back
Oh
then?
yeah, they used to put like
Yeah, they're
peanuts
like
and
bar chips.
Well,
it's
yeah,
gross.
I know peanuts. That's totally normal to me, but Ruffles?
Pretzels. Yeah, but I don't. They just. Ugh, they don't. I don't think they do that anymore. That's just gross. You have to, especially with COVID. No, I just. I think that that's something that they haven't done in many many years.
Oh my god, this is ridiculous. Wow, was that true?
With birth
That when it
control?
first came out, only married women were allowed to take it.
Yeah. And I believe they had
Yes,
to have their husband's permission
Whoa!
to be prescribed.
they wouldn't give it to single women
Wow.
at first, but then they did. Or you had to get special permission or
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This is a great drunk performance for my collection.
I love Susie just knocks over the drink. Rose is great. Must have been a lot of fun for her to do these scenes. Oh, Susie's drunk too.
Rose can drink her under the table, apparently. Oh no. Is it George Costanza?
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Who is this supposed to be?
Old friend of Abe's.
Was he set up? Did we know that or it just happened right here?
No, I mean, I don't think so.
Just wait for
happened.
it, John. Just wait for it, John.
That standee of that man behind Abe is freaking me out.
I know. I was feeling the same.
It'd be really freaky if they replaced that with a man and then he like walked away.
This is a really cool scene, but man, does it feel like a diversion from the story.
It's very long.
It's definitely like captivating. I'm really into it, but I don't really know What it has anything to do with anything? Yeah, it was a cool scene, but I really just don't get it. But I guess we'll talk about it.
I agree this place looks better, but it's just dirty to me. Can't they slap a coat of paint on the walls?
Take away the charm, the
Absolutely.
character.
Yes.
See that? It's just freshly painted with dingy.
Oh. Overtown, yeah.
John, is that where Moonlight was set,
Yeah,
Overtown?
yes, it is.
Thank you.
Yep.
Looks like he may have some broken ribs.
Wow, that scene.
I love that dress that Carol is wearing.
Stool set. So they've done a stool set before.
Singing has got to be really painful for him.
Oh.
Especially with broken ribs, if he has broken ribs.
And you could see him holding that part of his body. Yeah.
And so much about Reggie suddenly makes so much more sense.
Reggie knows. He's
Yeah,
smart.
of course. He's been. I mean, he's protecting him. He's been. He's his caretaker. He's. Oh, I see. So that scene was more about this. Got it.
Well, well, well.
Wow. Wow.
So it doesn't have the visual cachet that say last episode did, but it's still packed.
Yeah, that was intense. That was a pretty big episode.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like now suddenly Reggie just makes so much more sense to me why he's so uptight, so I mean just so protective, so uncompromising.
The couch is
And
open, guys. If you get, you're welcome to come up.
yes, thank you, Cindy.
This episode was just packed
Exactly.
with
Yeah. There's
narrative. I
so
mean,
much.
this episode was just literally it was so full of
There were
and
all
just
these
big.
different stories. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, like you know, uh, um, Joel and what's his friend's
and
name?
and Archie
Archie, Joel and Archie, that whole thing, Joel and
and May.
Maylin, um, the Abe and what was Abe's friend's name? I don't know any of these side characters.
Asher.
Asher.
And
Um,
then of course the delightful offstage didn't see it coming coupling of the two co-stars of Miss Julie.
oh my God, that was ridiculous.
Did you guys
That
notice
was
that
ridiculous.
Rose only
There was
wanted to drink if Midge was
Oh
doing
my gosh,
comedy?
I mean that
Yes,
even that
yes.
like just all the stuff with Rose and and I mean it's hard to believe like so many things happened in this episode. I mean the rehearsal, the weird rehearsal with Sophie just sitting there catatonic, and I mean um I think this might be my favorite episode.
Yes.
Until the next episode,
Right,
and then that
exactly.
will be your favorite.
Also
I'm gonna
Rose's
I'm gonna
hat.
cherish I'm gonna
Also
cherish that.
Rose's
I'm gonna
hat.
hold on to it.
How about Rose's hat?
I know. I hope that's hat number Z or whatever.
It was
Are
just
you up to Z yet
no,
in the
no. We
in the
haven't even
mil
gotten C bar
in
yet.
the millinery? So yeah, are there other folks who want to come up?
Also, it's harvest time, guys.
Oh wait, I can't harvest. The
Yeah, you
one
and
time I
I can't
remember,
harvest. Everybody else.
the one time, the one time somebody announces it. So we really have our pick of storylines to follow and talk
Yeah.
about. And I'm glad that you, because in my head, as you,
Everybody who's been hearing me say, I don't know, there's some chemistry between Midge and
oh,
Shy.
how
I'm
hard
feeling
was
it.
it
Like all of
just?
you all were just like holding that tongue.
That's right. That's right. How
Yes.
difficult was it? You guys were so shipping
Yeah. Oh my
Shy and Midge,
goodness,
and it's
that
like
was
not
funny.
so fast, not so
Um.
fast. But I thought that was so beautiful when
Oh my
I
gosh, that
actually
scene was so heartbreaking,
it gave me
and
chills.
when she's putting the makeup on, I mean, just that was just so beautiful. We were actually talking in Discord today or yesterday and today about how Midge, whether she's likable, whether that matters, and I was saying, as this series has progressed, I've actually found Midge to be like more unlikable. Like she's become a little bit more self-absorbed and self-involved and just not really a character that I would consider to be likable. And yet, I don't necessarily think that that's important for me to enjoy watching the story of a character because, I can really get invested in an interesting journey of an unlikable character. And I can also be really fascinated by just the nuances of an unlikable character if they're very honest and real. But it's funny that that was sort of my mindset earlier today and yesterday, and that scene really subverted that, like almost like flipped it completely, because just in that moment she just a lot of that selfishness that I was starting to get really used to with her character just melted away. It was really really cool, really great, really great writing,
I think
really great development of a character.
I agree, and I think this episode showed a side of her that was kind, that was not selfish, that was interested in reaching out and sort of intuiting that Shy needed somebody to talk to or needed a friend, and that the band wasn't really the band is his community, but not really necessarily friends with him the way you know he needed one.
Yeah.
And I mean, if Reggie, like he said, Reggie's my only family, that Reggie's my friend, my brother, my mother, father, and and he, but he knows that he's letting Reggie down too. And the whole thing you guys were talking about was Reggie famous. So I think I think maybe we saw a glimpse of Reggie's talent in the number the is you is or is you ain't my baby um
Yeah.
back in Vegas, and the duet they did, and you kind of get a glimpse of, okay, maybe they were both singer, and now putting it together when he said Reggie. I actually didn't catch that until this watching, which has got like my third or fourth watching. But he said Reggie and I had a bet about who was going to be famous first. So I'm just thinking, like, that they sort of came up together, and um but that Reggie saw in Shy, a way to sort of realize his ambition, or his, that he became the managers to sort of find success in some way, but that but maybe they did, when they were much younger, start out as both singers. So
Totally, because so that's what I was thinking, right? Because we get some key information in that scene, right? We learn that Shy has been doing this since he was 16 years old, right? So that means that Reggie, who they grew up together, was also at his side at some point at 16 years old. A 16-year-old's not going to be his manager, right? So
right.
Reggie was likely also in that performing world. And Reggie was, it seems to be suggested that Reggie was either he had recorded stuff that was popular, or was on a trajectory towards becoming famous, that it was very clear that that was going to happen. And I thought that was really interesting that, he said that Reggie understood that he had lots of options, that he could survive whatever. He didn't need to
Mm-hmm.
be famous to survive, but that the only thing that he had, Dwayne had, was Shy Baldwin, that without it, that he wouldn't survive. And
Mm-hmm.
that also seems to now, after seeing the episode, now understanding this about Dwayne, about Shy, what we learn in that scene with Midge, that makes even more sense. That makes more sense, especially at that time. And so you kind of get the sense that Reggie's life is a sacrifice for his friend, whom
Mm.
he loves, you know,
And that's why he
as,
exerts so
as a
much
brother,
control.
which is just really very, very powerful. Um, yeah, really beautiful.
And the look that look that Shy gave him during the first verse of his stool set, um, was so meaningful and so expressive. The difference between the two, I really, it was really marked, the difference between his performances, of course, because he was, his body was battered, and
Yeah,
but he knew, he also, when Reggie said, "Why is he doing a stool set?" That seemed like a whole code
yeah, yeah.
for,
Before this has
and
happened before.
that's exactly right. Like,
Yeah, that this
it
has
was
happened
like
before.
shorthand.
Whether the actual band understands it, but you definitely get a sense that Reggie understands it. I mean,
Right.
and Shy said, essentially says to Midge that it's happened before, right?
Hmm.
And yeah, and that's also part of the challenge that Reggie has, in keeping him alive. Um,
And that's the worst, that's like compounding his shame, is not only does he have to hide it from society, but he has to hide it from the person who knows him the best and cares the most for him.
yeah,
So it had laughs, and it had ponderous, pensive moments as well. So, and you got the whole Asher thing, because you're right. It did it. I looked back, and
it,
Asher
it, it
did.
really feels it really totally feels stapled on to the
Yeah.
episode. It isn't until the very end that you kind of like, oh, I kind of see that this was about Abe coming to some realizations that he needed to come
Right.
to, I guess. But it did really truly feel like we didn't get any setup for who that was,
No.
and it felt like a really long, it was a good scene. It was really well written, and it was interesting, and I wanted to know what they were, I wanted to know what they were going to say next. But it really truly felt outside of the episode. And also, we didn't see anything before that in this episode. We know that he's been going through his own, like, kind of trying to find himself, but we didn't really see much of that in the episode leading up to that moment, right? Like, and so
No, not in
that,
that episode. Not at
yeah,
all.
not in this episode. And I think that would have probably helped us kind of get what was going on there, if we had at least gotten a sense that, like, he's here in Florida, he's, maybe using this opportunity to, like, to think through things. Even if we'd been given something like, some sense that he has a friend here that he that
Well,
he wants to
yeah,
meet up
like
with.
Miami, I could visit Asher. That, like, something like that. But that,
Yeah, something like that. Something like that. Yeah. Yeah. Again, really interesting. From this from this Miami boy to like, uh just to see that world and to think like, wow, there was a time when Miami was just the coolest. and and just, I mean, I just grew up in an area of Miami that I would not consider to be the coolest, but it's funny when I tell people that I'm from Miami, I still get like, ooh, and I'm like, really? Is that um but yeah, but it was cool to see, oh, like that's right. Miami, it did have these really important periods. The 50s were big in Miami. The Deco period, like early turn of like early 20th century was really big in Miami.
Yeah.
Um, and of course that, like, that made it the huge city that it is, this huge important city that it is today. But I don't really think of it in that context anymore, or at all. And just to see its roots was just kind of it was kind of fun. Um,
Yeah, there's a moment where I guess Asher says like, "I love it. It's quiet." Like that doesn't
yeah,
feel
I
like
know that
Miami to me.
that's exactly what I was, that moment where he was talking about, like, moving from, I thought to myself, my parents moved to Miami from New York City. Like, I mean, that was a thing.
Mm.
That was a thing for a lot of Northeast folks to, like, dream of settling down in Miami. I mean, to me, Miami is really like a lot of bugs, a lot of humidity.
See, itchy.
It's very itchy, a lot of bugs, a lot of humidity. Occasionally, you could be eaten by an alligator if you're not careful.
If you didn't
Uh,
wrangle it right, Shauna.
yeah, when she was talking about, like, bringing Ethan out, which, by the way, I also thought that also was a little part of this like reversal that we've gotten on
Eh,
Midge, right? Because now she's really she misses her kids, she wants to see them, she's trying to get them out here, and up until now we kind of like felt like, gosh, like, does she even remember that she has kids,
She's never made those kinds of overtures where she's
yeah.
trying. Yeah.
But I did kind of cringe a little bit when she was like, oh, it's just like that. It just with reptiles, and I was like, ooh, no, not like little like child and reptiles. Like, there's some real freaky stories about stuff, weird, crazy stuff happening in like the 60s in Miami with like reptiles and children. I mean, even like relatively recent. Yeah, Miami for me is not any of this, but I get it now. Like, I see it and I'm like, gosh, there were, at a time it was absolute paradise to people who were living in those areas in the Northeast. It was absolute paradise. You know, the hurricanes didn't happen every single year. um,
And it had that whole Art Deco period. I mean, when I think of,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. That the early,
yeah,
like early turn of the century, 20s, that deco, that Miami was like really, a big mecca of the deco, of the Art
hmm
Deco movement, which was like 20s,
yes,
30s. Yeah, and then it, it continued to be awesome, like through the 50s and 60s, um, and then and then I don't know what happened by the time
well, it's sort of
by the
the
time I came into the world. I don't know what happened to Miami Beach. Got like really, um, just a lot of like thumping club music. Um,
like
A lot of
the era
MTV, a
that
lot of MTV, too much MTV in Miami
the
Beach.
the the decor in the Fontainebleau, the that whole mid-century look, that sort of, so like the Art Deco stuff would have been 20 years old and like ready for, kind of a remodel. So this is what
Yeah.
they did, was made everything new, and that whole
Yeah.
Rococo look that
Yeah,
is,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if you go to Miami now, there's still a lot of that, and there's still a lot of renovating Miami Beach oceanfront hotels to keep that deco style.
Mhm. Mhm.
To not get things super moderny, but like to really sort of, you know, keep those pastel colors and keep the basic frame of the building. I want to even say, like, new buildings might even be like built in a deco style just to keep that whole thing. I mean, Miami Beach, that whole oceanfront Miami Beach is still quite cool looking. Definitely very touristy, but it still has that vibe to it. Just, yeah. So then there's uh let's chat a little bit about I thought, again, I mean, like, gosh, everybody had so much stuff in this episode. Susie also super interesting. All of that, how she's like becoming more invested in being like a legit manager. Like, you're really starting to see her becoming a like, I can see her getting more clients. I
Well,
can see her.
her activities in this were truly management. I mean,
Yeah,
the whole you know the investors rehearsal, and then finding out the theater was lost, and her saying, "I'll find a way to take care of it." And
yeah,
wasn't that a great shot where she bends down to pick something up, or she bends down, when she gets back up, she's in front of the mobsters, or
yeah.
the hitmen, and
And what about
I
those guys? I mean,
I
those
love
guys are
that
also
twist.
in the
Like, oh, we
episode.
know Broadway, like,
I
well,
mean,
actually,
that
they had
whole
said
thing was
they had
awesome.
yeah, they had said something, I think, about Broadway even when they first kidnapped her. I think. I think they made some comment like that. But yeah, but I love the fact that, like, there was no, like, why should we help you? It was like, oh yeah, okay, we know what to do, and um that whole shtick was very good, I thought, and a fun way to solve the problem. But it was all management, and then she, and then she went back down to Florida, but she was managing by phone, and she got started getting very confident and sort of playing both ends against the middle, and of course that that backfired a little bit. But and trying to keep Midge happy, which meant keeping Rose from getting drunk, and the spilling of the drink. Like, the face off between the two of them was so great at the table.
Yeah, it was delightful. It was so delightful, and I mean, it's funny. Like, I'm like, wow, all of that stuff with the mobsters was in that episode too. It was just packed. It really was packed.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't, and I mean, I mean, that scene with Asher and Abe, that was a long scene.
Mm-hmm.
There were a few scenes that were like nice, lengthy dialogue scenes, like the scene between Shy and Midge on the boat, and still they just packed in so much.
Well, we were talking about how this is a longer. So usually they don't go over a minute, but this one did. I mean,
Yeah.
a little bit. I mean, I'm sorry, an hour. I didn't mean a minute. Anybody else have any favorites or anything to
I
point out?
love Rose watching Shy sing.
Mm-hmm.
She's drinking and drinking through Midge's set. Like, she doesn't want to hear it. She's going to be so drunk she can't hear it. And then he comes and she just stands up and starts dancing. Just crack me up. She could have been a backup dancer for him.
I know, we saw things she'd never done before.
She had to
She
have
was
had so
doing the
much fun filming that scene. I just
doing the
just
frog
look,
or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, that actress is amazing, Maren Hinkle.
There's
I
a lot of
do
good stuff in this
know.
episode, though.
Um, I read an article concerning this episode and how it kind of slightly got Asher's story wrong. He was blacklisted from Broadway, is his story, because, some schmuck called him a communist. And this was during that time period where blacklisting was occurring if you were a communist. But the article pointed out that that was more of a Hollywood thing, that Broadway was actually a refuge for some actors and writers who had been blacklisted in Hollywood. They found refuge in New York, and Broadway accepted them and allowed them to continue working, and without the worry of that whole communism thing coming down on them.
Yeah, I was gonna say that it didn't really hit me until you just said it now. But there was something about that didn't feel quite right, and I think you nailed it, which is New York at that time didn't have, it really was a place where really far left folks were able to still continue to create.
Kendra, would you mind linking that article? I'd love to read it.
Absolutely. I'm going to put it in the spoilers thread,
Okay.
though, because it
Oh,
covers
that's a good point.
what
Yeah.
this entire season got right and wrong concerning Broadway, because Broadway comes up
Yeah,
throughout
that's true.
this whole
Yeah.
season. So I'll put it there.
So when I saw that, I just figured it was the story of Clifford Odets, because I believe he was blacklisted. I don't know. In my head, I was kind of getting. I don't know all the details of that era the way I know like some other eras, but I know Elia Kazan did get hauled before the House Un-American Activities Committee and did name names. And he was mostly theater at that point.
In
Um,
in the article, I and of course they didn't speak to Amy or Dan. They said his character Asher's was likely not based on any real
mhm.
historical figure, that it was just a fictional character. But I'm not super knowledgeable about the communism scare that time period. I just found that article really interesting.
It's a very interesting period. I would like to learn more. Um, I don't know if anybody saw the movie Mank. It got not.
The one thing though that I will say about that is, he's like, I'm really happy now. I'm just selling, I'm selling uh, bait, and just living my life, just hanging out, watching sunsets. Like,
Mhm.
conceptually, I got it. I really got what they were saying about that character. But there's
Mhm.
something about that doesn't sit quite right for me. Where he's like, I gave everything to the theater, and then they like spit me out, and therefore I don't write anymore. That was the part where I was like, really? Like a writer, like, it sort of suggests that his greatness came out of his need to give to the theater
Hmm.
rather than his need to say something. And I feel like just because now I get that he might be like, well, I'm not gonna play the Broadway game anymore. I'm not going to try and get anything produced, But to sort of suggest that he's just like not writing anymore, that part was harder for me to completely buy, if that's a real character who's like as great as he's supposed to be, Pulitzer Prize winner, that he wouldn't be working on something that is at least personal to him, that he can leave to the world, after he's gone.
Yeah, I didn't think about it that way, but that sounds. I didn't parse it.
I
Agree
mean,
with you now that you said it. Now that you said
it
it out
sounds
loud.
heartbreaking, this idea that he, has let go of that, and he's just gonna, like, finish his days just enjoying, sunsets and whatnot. But I don't know, maybe I'm speaking from somebody who just, I can't really fathom that idea of, like, just because you've been rejected, that it takes away your spirit to create, and to speak, and to say, to reflect the world out, even if it's a reflection on the pain that you've suffered, from an experience like that. But it also became very clear that this, that whole thing was really, it was all about Abe. Like, the writing was getting us to Abe's own revelation, understanding of, like, what he wants to do. So Asher just, like, in some ways, just more of a narrative tool.
What an unusual name, Asher, that's been used twice in her shows.
Mm-hmm.
She
Mm-hmm.
must have known somebody called Asher in her.
I've known
All
an
right.
Asher. It's not. I don't think it's that uncommon. I mean, it's not like a common name, but it's not like. Uh, I've known. I want to say I've known two Ashers. Um, I'm pretty sure that I've known two Ashers. I'm trying to think the other one. I know for sure. I know one, but I remember when I met him, not thinking that it was a very strange name, so I had to have known another.
I just think it's
Well,
strange that it's used in both of her major shows, is all.
it's not uncommon. Um, it's a not not. It's a name that you hear in Jewish circles a lot. Um, I because I believe it's it's like help me out, Nancy, please. If Nancy's awake. Um, I believe it translates into Hebrew, something
Which
into Hebrew,
what are
but
we looking for?
So it's
Asher.
just unusual to me because I don't live in an area where I would hear that name very often then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Isn't Asher related to Shalom or Avram or something like
Hold
that?
on, I'm looking it up.
Oh.
My niece had a dog named Asher.
Asher means lion, I thought. Oh no, Asher means happy or blessed.
Mm. Wait,
And it's a biblical yeah,
whose niece named their dog Asher?
My niece had a dog named Asher. He was so cute, but then he fell off the bed and he did some damage to his spine and he was crippled. It was very sad.
Oh.
Asher was one of Jacob's sons and is the traditional last name for somebody who lived by an ash tree. And in Aramaic,
No,
it's
they all
wise
the
or
ash trees
knowledgeable.
have.
And in Aramaic, it's wise or knowledgeable.
Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That it's that it is that it's
That would make sense,
Aram,
that they would give that.
Aramaic
Yeah, but that would make sense that they would give that name to both characters,
to
right?
both of
Because
those characters.
yeah, because
That's true.
both those characters were kind of like wise type people.
I thought Jason Alexander played him well.
Yes, I loved it, and I love that last moment where he's like, he came up behind him and he's like, "You're still a mensch," you know.
I know.
And
It's
that's the second time they've worked together. Alexander did a guest spot on Monk.
oh.
Yeah. I love Monk. It's one of my favorite shows ever.
I do too. Yeah, every once in a while you'll see when Abe is being particularly particular about something, you do get a little bit of a little glimpse of Monk.
That was a great show.
I just don't. It's so. I'm just so in love with him as Abe that I don't. And also, Wings. Like you just. It's hard to reconcile that little cab driver on Wings with with Abe.
I'm
What do
sorry,
you guys think?
I was unmiked, but oh, I love Monk too. Sorry.
What do you guys think's going to happen with May and Joel after Joel just basically treated her like a wife that he was
Oh my
angry at?
goodness.
And that,
I don't
Well,
know,
yeah,
but I'm
we
worried.
we didn't talk about May and Joel. I mean, I think that was a pretty significant scene between the two of them. Super significant.
Well, it's the first fight we saw. It's the first sign of any discord in their. Sorry, but in their relationship. And it's all fueled by Joel. I think just the whole. Um, I think that the turning point was just getting the liquor license so easily, and it 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 triggered something in him that he did not want to. He wanted to be able to do something by himself without any help
This is
from
his
a helpmate.
this is his this is his fatal flaw. I mean that is the thing about this character that he's struggling against is
Yeah.
his ego, right?
Mm.
Like that was a big part of what happened with him and Midge.
Yeah.
He wasn't content because he didn't feel like he was worth it. Like he didn't think that he was good enough. That was
He
what
Mhm.
played
led him to
he, he played second fiddle to Midge, and he doesn't want to play second fiddle to May.
yeah, in general that's how he felt, and now he's like, I'm doing this all on my own. I'm finally going to actually do something that doesn't make me feel like I'm second fiddle, that I'm the more important one. And then the person that I'm with has once again homed in on the fact that I can't get things done myself,
Right. Is more powerful than me.
is more powerful than me. I mean, remember, like we would say in the beginning, like Midge ran their marriage. Like she got him the spots at the club. She did all that, like and that was the source of his discontent,
Mhm.
which is his own inability to come to grips with that idea that he can't quite get things on his own. And that it just brought all those memories back, and because of it he ended up just falling right back into the ugly aspects of his personality.
My favorite line in that scene was when he said, "This time is going to be different," or something to that effect, and she goes, "What's this time? What was last time?" Like I just love the fact that they're having this. That it really shows that was such a real moment, because it really shows like he hasn't really talked to her. They've had this sweet flirtation, and they've they're you know they enjoy each other's company, but she doesn't really know anything about him, and he clearly doesn't know that much about her in terms of who she really is and where she really derives her power. Where does that come from? She has, you know, people that just follow her and do her bidding.
well, she did have
Um,
a good point
Totally.
though that he might need help in that neighborhood. I mean, he doesn't speak the
oh yes,
language,
yes,
and she knows people, and he doesn't know people, and so in her mind, she's just helping him because she likes him and she wants him to succeed. And in his mind, she's controlling everything, and he's a failure without her. And it's just that's
yeah,
not really the
great
case, but
point.
that's how he's seeing it.
He even
And that whole list of things he threw out there was all the stuff Midge did for him, and she's like, "What, brisket, huh?"
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just kind of
I, I was gonna say he even
see.
mentioned the brisket like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
That's a Paladinoism though. They do that when people are having arguments. Somebody will pull out a reference, a self-referential,
Well,
like a reference
I
to
don't think it
something that
was a.
happened
I don't
when.
think it was out of nowhere. He says the brisket because for him, it's like her helping him is Midge doing the brisket.
Yeah,
Like
that
that's
that
what.
liquor license is the
Yeah,
brisket.
the
Yeah,
liquor
no,
license
no.
is the
I
brisket.
just
Yeah.
mean, I just mean that in a two-way discussion, I've I, I've seen this before where one of the characters in the heated discussion will pull out an example of something that references something that the other person has no chance of knowing what they're talking about. Um, and anyway, so I thought that was funny. I mean, I thought that was a funny little nod to what Midge used to do, but in the context of the argument, I understand what he was saying. But May didn't. May did not know what he was talking about.
Well, and she left upset and he was angry. And I don't even know if he knows what he's angry about. He's just angry. And it's just, so now it's just kind of interesting, like, where can this go? Because that was not really friendly or nice or anything. And she's not, I don't know. It's like it felt like he was yelling at a wife he was angry at more than anything. I wouldn't go back.
Well, something that's really interesting that I was just thinking about though is that, the first episode, like the very first episode of the series, he's asking Midge, "Did you get the brisket? Did you get it?" Like, like he's like actually relying on her. He's actually like wanting
Yeah.
her influence, and it's like that was their partnership, was like, you're gonna charm them, right? Then I do the thing, and it turned out that it wasn't really like that. And so getting out of that and having this year of like realizing what he was doing, which was not really standing on his own 2 feet, not really using his own abilities to get where he wanted to go, that he was actually using her in a way to like, and her influence to do that. Now he's kind of like, wait a minute, that was completely the wrong move. And so now I want to set something up where I can do it all myself. But of course, Midge like making a brisket and, charming Jackie is very different than May stepping in to make a move where like Joel literally could not do that. Like he couldn't do the same thing, in just in that space. So I think like the help is different too. And so they're not really going to come to, I don't like he's seeing it the same way because of course he is, but I think it's really interesting that what May is doing for him is actually like almost like a business, like, hey, like, we're partners here, I can like help you out, even though she's not. Like I feel like it's different than Midge kind of doing a homemaker thing to like, to cajole someone. I don't know.
No,
That's
I
kind of how I
agree.
feel like.
I
I
don't,
feel
I
like,
didn't look at the same, I don't think it's the
yeah.
same either, but he does see it as the same, and that's where he's wrong, in my opinion.
Well, I don't know if
I
he's
mean, it's
wrong so much as that it's a trigger. Like it's not really like there's really nothing that is like super logical about it. Like that's why he throws out the brisket in conversation, because he's not being logical. He's being emotional, and he's sort of unleashing on her because of his emotional reaction to it. And it's not super logical.
right. That's what I mean, though. By he's wrong. I mean, he's wrong in the way he's reacting to the type of help she's giving. I think. I just think he's not. Yeah, he's not thinking rationally, as you say. It's just. But I'll be interested to see. And right now, I can't remember how this goes. I'm at a point where in season 3, I'm not remembering how it's going to end. And I don't remember what happens here. So now I'm interested to see what happens between those two characters because I like those two characters together. I think they have a fun kind of back and forth and stuff. So guess we'll have to wait and see. And
Yep.
I don't know.
Well,
There's
on that note, I'm actually gonna head out. But Curry, I don't know if you saw the message that I sent back
Yes,
channel.
thank you. The
Okay, so
most pathetic, the most pathetic novice memento creator has had her memento ratified, approved. So thank you very much. I'm
No
so
worries.
sorry about the problem that I had, which was so silly, and I'm sorry for the lounge that I muscled in on and brought my sad sackness to. I was really sad, but so thank you. This I was so nervous about tonight, and anyway, so yeah, there's a memento coming, everyone.